Was it any bad words that I was saying?
Zero.
No, right? Okay. Not passionate enough.
Business Lab.
Hi guys, welcome to yet another episode of the Business Lab podcast. And today I have the founder of Avoyoga, Raidah, on the show. Hi Raidah.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Appreciate having you here. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, ID, Entity and Seyrul by 3, and our media magicians, StudioFive Corp. My name is Abu Sofian. I'm the founder of Seyrul Consulting, and I help C-suites, founders, and salespeople get buy-in. Through buy-in speaking, you can increase your sales and your public speaking. So, Raidah, on to the show. I'm very interested to find out more about your business, Avoyoga. And just to set some context here, they champion beginner-friendly courses and they create mom-friendly and aerial playdates that foster community and wellness. So, she also balances business and motherhood. And she focuses a lot on holistic growth through aerial yoga. Tell us more about what you do, Raidah.
Yeah, sure. So our studio is in near Outram Park MRT, opposite SGH. So it's actually, we started off with just one space and we expanded to 2 units. So the space is basically aerial yoga. So it's yoga in the air. So we're using the hammock that's suspended from the ceiling. So a lot of people are quite intimidated by this term or when they see it. So which is why we come in, right? So when I first started as a student, I also felt that way, and there wasn't a lot of spaces at the time, studios at the time, that cater for beginners lah. So for newbies or for people who don't look the part, right? And I felt really intimidating when I go to all these studios. So I thought, okay, maybe I start being a teacher. I will see where that goes. I never intended to open a studio myself, of course. It just came about, and so it just evolved from teaching at like bigger studios and my private classes with my friends and family at first, and that evolved to actually my husband and my dad encouraging me to, maybe you can see whether the numbers work and then you can open your own space, which is already something I've never thought of because it's getting into business is very scary. So finally that happened, I think around end of 2021. Okay. But it didn't, like you mentioned, beginner course, beginner studio, and even the aerial playdate. It evolved. So it wasn't supposed to be. It was just supposed to be like your normal studio. We have your drop-in classes, right. But it didn't really work at that time. There was a lot of different challenges as you open your own business, and I had no business degree or anything. I actually studied sciences. So I studied pharmacy, and then I dabbled into tech and hospitality and all these things. So it's completely beyond my expertise. So there's a lot of challenges when I first started the space lah.
Oh, that's really interesting. So a little bit of push from the family to do your own thing. Yeah. So what was going on through your mind when they said, hey, why don't you try start your own business?
Actually, I was just sharing with them now that so COVID happened, right, in about 2021 or so, and I decided to take a break from my hotel life. So my hotel was about 6 years of different 6 years of my life in the hotels, and I took a break. It was too much, and just nice. I was already practicing aerial yoga at the time. There was a teacher training going on, so okay, I have 3 months break between my hotel jobs and my tech job. Why not I try and see, since dates work. And I actually enjoyed aerial yoga as a practitioner, but teaching people was a whole different ball game, and it was even more fun teaching than it was doing it myself. And so I was juggling. So I started my new job. I was juggling my new job and doing 4 classes a week. And then COVID happened and had different restrictions, so I couldn't teach anymore because the studio had to close for a while because of whatever the government rules lah. And then my friend came to me and said, hey, I want to learn aerial yoga actually, but I know studio closed. Can I go to your house? Okay. And I had a little setup in the living room to continue my practice. And I said, okay, you can come. I just charge you a few dollars lah, a friend rate. So she came, and I really enjoyed that personal one-on-one teaching with her. And I could see where she can improve and really personalize my teaching for her. So this is interesting. I've never thought of doing anything outside of the big place.
I see.
So from there, it became from, okay, we'll just do my work, do my big studio, and then 1 or 2 classes in between all of that. So it was really crazy lah. And to a point where it got popular with different groups of friends, and they wanted like, hey, can I do like 10 people? I said, 10 people, I don't know where to put you because like obviously my house is only one, right? So I rented places. I was popping up all around Singapore, and that's when my husband was saying like, hey, you're buying all this equipment, you're putting in a luggage, you're dragging it up on the MRT, go to this place to set up. Isn't it tiring lah? I'm like, yeah, it is lah. After 6 p.m. I run and I do all this thing. I said, I don't think we should get a studio yet. Like it's not time yet. Until I think a few factors came into play. I said, financially, probably not. And it wasn't too much of a hassle yet. But what was the tipping point was that I couldn't teach the way that I taught in my private class that I could to the bigger studios I was at. It restricted me lah, because obviously it's not my studio. I couldn't do what I wanted, right? I couldn't like teach people the way that I would like to, and it didn't sit well with me. Like, it didn't sit well with my values. To be able to help the everyday people versus just doing it for business lah, for just the nice cool tricks and stuff. And I didn't feel good doing it. And when there was a group of 18 people and 3 of them was trying and they were not able to do it, I didn't have time to spot them to try and make them to continue, because we had 60 minutes and had 18 people and you have to continue with class. Right. So I just said, oh, so sorry, just sit here lah and watch. Not so nice, right? So I was complaining a lot to my family. Then he said, oh, maybe you just sit down and see whether the numbers can work lah. That's how it started. And it was very crazy thinking that, I have a full-time job, I have this and that. But alhamdulillah, it all worked out. Like, I bootstrap my way through like whatever savings I have. Just go and just go for it. But definitely a lot of support from my husband, and having it, like my dad saying like, oh, usually he would be the one that's restricting, but he was like pushing me too. So I was like, that means can lah, try lah. And that was end of 2021. So we secured a space, which is where I'm at now.
Wow. Okay.
Since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a lot of support again, and pushing this time around from your dad as well. But interesting that because of what your client was going through, you couldn't service them in the best way for the experience that kind of pushed you to have your own space. Yeah. And I guess it sounds to me it's like the commitment to giving the best to the client, and then, you know what, this is not working for them, I'm gonna get my own studio. That's a really good reason to get a studio, right? No, I mean, there's different factors lah. I mean, of course, the tiredness of the hassle of bringing my equipment back and forth as well. But definitely that was the major draw, because I came to teaching to teach people, right? If I can't do it the way that I think that it should be done, then not right lah. But Raidah, you also mentioned values. So I wanted to ask, like, what are some of those values and principles that you hold when you run your business?
Authenticity to the student, to my teachers. So I have some freelance teachers as well, but especially to the students. So like I have quite a few feedback from well-meaning people saying, "Hey, I think you're teaching too many things in one term or one semester." Then if they get so strong, they will leave the studio, which is true. Actually, I have a whole batch of students that got really strong because of the way that we teach and different things that we do, and then because we're a beginner-friendly studio, they no longer are beginners, so they like graduate and move on to other places. And I said, yeah, sure. I felt a bit upset that they left, obviously, but actually quite also proud that they have graduated and moved on and do the crazy circus type of aerial. But I mean, I reflected what she said. Maybe I should change my business plan, business strategy to make it like slower their growth. But why do I want to hinder, their growth and what they're learning? Wow. Of course, if it's beneficial for them because they are not there yet, then okay, I slow it down. But if I change the curriculum just because, then it's a bit not right lah, which is what I think a lot of places do. And from the feedback that I got from other students, like, I like your studio because other places, they will take their time to do this and that, and then only the last 10 minutes we get to try and do what we wanted to do. So it's like it's a tactic lah. They want them to keep coming for more. So I said, I mean, for me, it's maybe yes and no. There might be a reason that they're doing that, but for us, if you join this and that, this is clear structure of what you get out of it lah. So you don't always feel not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Raidah, I guess it relates back to what you mentioned, which is authenticity, right? And not hindering the growth of a student just because they're gonna be too advanced and then leave. I think it relates back to authenticity. You also mentioned something about challenges just now. So I'd like to know, what were those early challenges? I mean, I'm sure financial was one of them, but could you share with us what were the challenges that you had to go through when you first started your studio, and how do you overcome those challenges?
So I mentioned the beginner's course and the playdate, for example, right? So when we first started, that was non-existent, and it was just like our normal classes. So what I was basing on is market research, whatever the studios out there were doing. I was trying to copy, see what works to the point of their timing or the class types or what they're teaching. Then I realized it doesn't work for my studio. It's still a struggle. There's no one coming in, and there's no business coming in, or not consistent. And I was a one-woman show, so it was just me as a teacher, and I still had my full-time job, right? So I was running back and forth after 6 p.m. and it just didn't work. So I think one day I just sat down so I went back to reflect when I was a student, what was lacking and what I could do now that I have this opportunity to create whatever I want lah. So beginner's course came about. So I was a beginner and there was no structure, and I would have liked to learn from A to Z properly and not just jumping to different classes. So that's how I wrote it down okay, this is what we're going to learn, and then I just market it out see if it takes. And surprisingly, people who I've never, not my friends or my friends' friends, were buying and wanting to learn. I was like, oh, so there's something there. And so of course there's a couple of reiterations from that point on, and now we're up to batch 22. So we've processed a few hundred people already from that 2022. So that was one of the challenges, trying to find your niche, which I think is really important in business. You don't want to be like the next door neighbor, right? You want to be slightly different. And finding that and drawing from my own experiences and my own challenges as a student, that's what helped me in the beginning.
So you put yourself in the shoes of a student so that you can empathize with them, and then that's how you iterated the business and found your niche.
Yeah.
It's really
Because
cool.
not a lot of people, I mean, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the aerial world, but it's a lot of, if you see it out there, it's a lot of this particular body type and strength needed, obviously, right? But I was determined to make it available for anyone, anyone who wants to try. So the everyday body type. So me being at that time as a student, I know how that would feel, right? So exactly how the tips that would be able to work for them versus someone who already has a strength.
Yes.
So even now when I speak to people who are stronger, they're like, oh, I never had to do that problem. I don't know what you mean. But I'm able to see the difference. And that's what is the difference between the beginner's course with me than other places lah.
Okay. And you mentioned you have 2 studios now, is it?
2 side by side, so just
Side
2
by
units.
side.
Yeah,
2 units, okay.
Correct.
So where's the current studio?
It's 23 Kampong Baru Road, which is opposite the National Heart Centre SGH area.
Okay.
So it's a long row of shop houses, but this building is quite unique. It's actually a find that I didn't realize that was there. Actually, I walked there, I never see it before because it's kind of hidden. And when we were looking for units to rent, we almost gave up because we couldn't find the right location, the right price point, and then suddenly this particular unit came up, and this building was so interesting. It's a 4-story, like in between shop house, lodge in between shop house, but it's not wooden. It's like a proper building and has a lift, which is great because for a lot of shop houses you got to go up the stairs. And then we were thinking about renovation. All these things got extra cost to bring all the materials up, but this one is perfect. It had like lift that you can bring in all the metal beams and everything, and students don't have to walk 4 flights of stairs lah.
Okay.
So, and it had beautiful big windows with views.
Sounds like it checked all
the lists. Correct. I had no reason not to. And then at the time was COVID price, so it was like okay,
even better. Yeah.
This is it.
That's amazing. And I'm very curious to know about the community that you've built, because you mentioned that many batches have come and gone. What's your approach to building a community when it comes to your business?
I think first and foremost, we need to understand how the interior design industry works here in Singapore. So majority of the IDs or the people who work within the interior design companies, most of them are actually freelancers. They are not employed based on a full-time basis, so they work on a commission basis. So. And some business models or some ID companies want to have a lot of ID so that they can close a lot of projects on. My personal tip here is start with visiting the IDs that you have shortlisted or you're interested in. Look at their place of work, look at how they work, look at their office. Once you have done that, I think what you should also do here is to ensure that these IDs that you potentially want to engage are HDB licensed. Last but definitely not least, and to me the most important, because I think nobody do this. Okay. Once you have confirmed, or let's say for example, you really want to sign with this ID company, right? Go to Accra website and pull out the company's profile. Firstly, you know who are the directors, you know where is their office, you know when they were incorporated. Most importantly, you know how much they actually put in as the initial investment or the capital. So in the context of my industry, right, the ID industry, right, I always advise my clients, don't look for cheap, look for value. Okay? Because cheap don't guarantee you that you're going to get what you want. Okay? Because in order to be cheap, there are corners that I need to cut. But instead look for value. And when I talk of value here, it's not just what I use to build your home, how I communicate with you, how prompt am I, how I can advise you, these are all the value I add, So like for us, because I maintain a very small team, right? So we only manage between 2 or 3 projects a month. We don't do a lot of projects. So this way, my people are better at managing that project. We are at site more frequent. We are constantly there to check if there are mistakes being made, and our communication with the owners are more frequent, more kira macam more in depth. We are able to, correct.
So at first I set out to just obviously create the course and get the business in, right? Didn't really focus on community until it just accidentally came about when I created a group chat with them and say, okay, these are the things that we're doing, these are the videos that you can refer to, and then they started to just talk to each other. And then from there, we also give them like self-practice time, and they're afraid to go by themselves. So I encourage them in class, like, oh, maybe you can like be friends, make friends, and then see who is free when you're going, then you can actually build friendship from there. So that actually happened. Not every single batch. Some people may be more reserved. They want to, be friends. That's fine. No forcing lah. So if they are, then it's always good encouragement to have. So from groups of from the course 1 to go to the course 2 to course 3, so they can go all the way together. And then now that I have a group of friends a group of students that became friends, so much so that they go traveling together already. So they formed like, all these few people that come to the studio meeting from just regular classes, they know that, we like the same things, and then it just became a community from there. But I mean, in Avoyoga itself, there's different like groups, I would say. So you have like your beginner students who like get inspired with each other and help each other. You know, hey, you can do it. Oh, and then when they finally did something, everybody would like clap, and it's just a really nice environment, which is what I envision. So whenever I see that happening, I'll try to like take a video and okay, I'm going to make a story out of it, because it's very intimidating, like I said, right? If most places. So when we create that and they feel like uplifted when someone is literally the whole class clapping for you and you feel encouraged and you want to keep trying again. But we also have other sorts of different communities lah. So we have the regular students, the beginners, and then now we're doing more like gentle aerial yoga, which is a lot more older people. So we're encouraging older makciks coming to do like just moving their body. And that in itself also, like there was no group chat for that yet. But when they come to class, they're like, oh hi, tinggal kat mana? Oh, datang sini macam mana? Like that kind of stuff. And then they also encourage each other because with older generation, they need that to remain active, right? So we again, it's not on purpose. It just organically happens, which is the best kind lah.
Okay, so you created a group chat, and from there they have frequent conversation, and then now you have another group chat for another kind of profile of people that are coming on board. Yeah. So it sounds like group chats really do work.
It can be a bit hassle, but it does.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you? What's your take on a sense of belonging in the community? Like, how do you nurture that?
So it's a lot during in the class itself. So of course afterwards help, but during the class, what we say, how we kind of present and encourage them together as a class, and paying enough attention to each of them and giving them like, oh, you know, you've done so well from day one to now, and then the other friend like, yeah, I know, I saw you couldn't do this, and then now you can. You're so strong. Like just positive words and just that kind of environment that we don't like force it on them, but we just organically like just happens. And so with the teachers that I have, that's the first thing that I would say, like, oh, if you want to come teach here, these are the things that I value, and I think that if you're not aligned, then maybe cannot lah. Yeah, I was very adamant, like, because a lot of people, as I move along, people messaging, oh, I want to teach, you're just looking for a job. But I was looking at the profile, what is it, what's your intention of teaching? Just to get, like, just for your rice bowl to teach, or you teach because of passion? It's a different take lah. And those who are already teachers for other aspects, like kids teachers or whatever, they tend to have that personality and that passion lah, which can build upon in aerial. Yeah.
So very much because you've set the intention that, you know, you need to be supportive, you need to be have that vibe. So I guess everyone that comes into the company, you know, they have that kind of orientation for the person.
That's how I hope. That's how I envision lah. Because you know, it's a lot of reminding and training and
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm also curious. Just so you mentioned a little bit on marketing a little bit. Like what's your approach to market the aerial yoga and even your brand?
Actually really funny because I don't actually have a strategy. If my husband calls it like throwing spaghetti on the wall and just see what sticks. I mean, it's true, like I don't have a marketing background. As I said, I started sciences and then like not at all marketing lah. So it's a lot of like Instagram little posts, posting here and there, which is not ideal. I think it's not very strategic lah, and there's a lot of room for improvement in that sense. But I haven't, 3 years later, I still haven't gotten around to it. But so far, whatever is working in sense of like collaborations with like-minded businesses, if I find like, you know, something that I can work with, or just like the style of you know, your video content or whatever, like it relates back to what I'm trying to promote, then that works. But definitely collaborating with others helps here and there.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you say collaboration, what do you mean?
So like recently, last August, I worked with 2 different groups. So touching on the aerial playdate, right? So we started that, I think, earlier this year, and that's only picked up. So then when certain events, so in August it's like breastfeeding week, for example, and this company, so she sells lactation cookies, and wanted they
Like
like
Christian
that I have
cookies,
this community that I've created with the moms and wellness and holistic, this kind of community. So she approached me and said, oh, can we organize a aerial play group thing together, basing around like breastfeeding week, and so we can talk about breastfeeding challenges and all these things. Like, oh yeah, that's great, because I had breastfeeding challenges too when I was first a mom, right? So that resonated with me, and it kind of like, it worked together. So we tag each other lah. We do whatever posts. We shared a few resources. So that's like one type of collaboration. And I think a lot more with the aerial playdate, because it's new to me. Because I'm a new mom, relatively new mom, and my students, a few of them are moms, but not all. So tapping on like different communities and organizations that resonates with me, that helps. So there's a few other mommy groups here and there lah. So we organize play groups with them, and then they kind of like share that with their community. And that has been helpful lah, to just get some word out there that we exist.
It's a nice ecosystem of people who are already fitting the profile, so to speak. Okay, you mentioned several times, right? This term, holistic growth.
Oh, did I?
So that's why I'm very curious. Like, what do you mean by holistic growth? What's your take on that? And
so a lot of people think fitness is just physical, like look or shape. For aerials, like shapes and arts shapes, right? But for me, it's more of the mental agility as well. It's more of the like your mind, right? So when I first became a student, I was very stressed in my job in hotels. It was very demanding, and for me to just go once a week to aerial class and exerting my energy to do whatever that I need to do, and then achieving it felt really exhilarating and really like an accomplishment lah, even though it's just sports, right? Just aerial. So with that great energy that I got from the class, it carried me throughout the day and made me feel really positive.
Right.
And that is true to the students I am teaching today. So they would share the same thing, like, oh, I couldn't get this. It was really frustrating. But then with a little bit of help, like from us pushing them up, or words of encouragement, or coming again and getting stronger, they finally got it, and they felt really, really good about it, right? So it's not just, of course, they get stronger physically, maybe they slim down or whatever, but definitely that sense of achievement just makes people in a better mood, right? And that helps translate throughout their whole day. So it's not just how you look, it's more how you think. And particularly with aerial, there's a lot of different steps. Hold here, there, upside down, like there's a lot of directions, and it helps with your mental state, like how to remember your neuroplasticity of your steps that you need to remember. So it's not just one thing, it's everything.
So I like how that feedback loop of getting the support from the community, at the same time getting stronger physically, and then you can immediately see the results of your body's growth, but also you learning a new skill, and then the achievement, when the achievement unlocks, so to speak, it gives a rush of like endorphins, and so it's very holistic in that sense. That's what I'm trying. That's why I understand from what you said.
Exactly. Thanks for putting it in a better word.
So okay, that's very interesting. So okay, besides this idea of holistic growth, right? Like what have you seen in your, so to speak, students or the people that are coming to aerial yoga? Like, why else do they go for aerial yoga?
Good question. I think for most of them, it's a different kind of challenge. So one consistent thing that when we just talk, right, casually after class, is like, oh, yoga is too boring. It's on the mat. It's very like, you have to be zen. You have to like purposely be quiet and get into the zone. And then they're like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like spinning because it's too noisy lah. And there's coordination needed. Like you have to follow the rhythm. But with aerial, it's not boring. It's called aerial yoga, but some of the things are not very yoga lah. It's more aerial arts almost. So again, a lot of steps. So they don't just turn off their mind. They have to like really remember the steps to be safe, right? So that you don't fall off and everything. And at the end of the day, at the end of the class or the sequence, you get something out of it. At the same time, it's a workout because you require all kinds of strength, your core, your arms, your legs to get to it. So it's all-rounder lah. So it's not a boring sport, so I would say. And you get something out of it, like, oh, something nice. And it's because it's not one flow you learn, that's it. There's so many different variations.
Okay.
There's always many opportunities to learn. So it doesn't stop even though you finish my course, right? And that's it. No, this is not it. There's so many things. Now you unlock all the different techniques. You can go make it yourself. Like you can make your own creative thing.
I see. So there's a progression.
Correct. There's also creative and progression. Like, exactly.
Okay, cool. And I'm very curious to know, you've been in the industry and you've started your own studio and you have students and there's a community now. What do you think will be the trend in the industry?
So with aerial yoga, it's come and go a little bit. So when I first started, it was the hot thing, and then it became like the spinning was a new thing, and then nowadays like reformer Pilates. But I just heard from some of my like community, right? Say, I think it's picking up again because the aerial yoga, I don't know where in the world that they started doing more trends, more shapes, to hammocks, whatever they're doing. And then it became more popular again. It's starting to pick up. So it's always in the fitness industry, it's not just one thing and that's it. You have to continue to evolve. So with the teachers, some of my teachers, they look on Instagram, they say, any trending poses, and they'll, I'll try to teach this in class, and then take a picture, and then everyone's like, cool, I'm going to come to this person's class because they're up with the trend. Personally, I don't do it because I don't look at I don't follow but some of the teachers do. And that helps keep things interesting and helps people come back. Hopefully they come back.
I'm sure they will. Yeah, with the supportive community and the psychological safety, I think, it's a great space to grow, not just in your body, but also your mind and that feeling of feeling safe. Yeah, cool. Thank you so much, Raidah, for the conversation. And we've come to the end of the Business Lab podcast episode with the founder of Avoyoga, which is Raidah. And thank you to our sponsors, ID, Entity and Craft by 3 for the amazing set. Of course, our media magicians, StudioFive Corp. Give a shout out to them. This is Sofian, and in the comments or somewhere wherever you see it, there will be a description box. There's a survey for you to click. Please answer the survey so that we can improve on our episodes. And you can catch this episode on everywhere where you get your podcasts. Okay? And with that, I'll see you guys for the next episode. Take care. Bye.
Bye.